We continue on Longhorn Weekly, and we're visiting with University of Texas Athletics Director Steve Patterson. We've talked a little bit about your the assessment of your athletics programs. Let me get your lowdown on your facilities, because it has been a lot of conversation, depending upon the sport, and many sports with regard to their facilities have come into this conversation.
Well, we're in the midst of working on our practice facility for the volleyball team, so that they don't have to spend as much time at Greg Gym practicing. That hopefully will be done next spring. You see the fences go up, and the tape is out there for the tennis facility that'll get bulldozed shortly here for the Dell Medical School. A lot of progress that we get to drive by that, and it's great for the university. We'll be moving to 51st and Guadalupe to the student rec fields. We're in the midst of trying to raise the money right now. We need to raise about $15–16 million to build a new tennis facility and outfit it with everything. But I think we're making progress there. A lot of good, positive conversations with folks. For the time being, we'll resurface a number of the rec fields courts and use those next year as we work through our process of raising the money and getting that built. We've been surveying the marketplace to talk about potential new suite, club seat, loge seating in a South End Zone project. The South End Zone project would include upgrading our football facilities. Our last major project there was really back in '96, which you sort of don't think about, but then you realize '96 is getting close to 20 years ago. So we need some more office space. We need some more student-athlete space. You've got 7 schools out there that have a specific nutrition center. We don't have one. And so whether we wind up doing that in the South End Zone or potentially in the North End Zone, we certainly want to look at that as the NCAA rules change about how you can provide food service to your student athletes. So that's another big project that we're going to have to get put together here in the next 12 to 18 months. And then down the road, in the long run, 6–8 years down the road, we probably are going to have to be in a new arena. So we're at the very early stages of those conversations. There are a lot of constituent groups involved in that discussion. The reality is we've kind of been Austin's arena for the last 35 years. There's probably not a marketplace out there of 2 million people, which really Austin is bumping up against, that has an arena that the community hasn't invested in. So, we're going to need to sit down and talk to a lot of constituent groups, our coaches, our student athletes, the campus as a whole, the various community groups in any areas that we might wind up landing in, the city, the elected officials and appointed officials. And so we're at the very beginnings of those conversations, and ultimately that will inform what the design looks like and what the placement is, and what exactly we wind up with in an arena.
Let me get your thoughts on some individual elements of some of the things you touched on. First of all, we'll go back to the tennis facility. First of all, as a former student here, do you get a little nostalgic? Because you were a student here when Pennick Allison was really getting into its heyday, and the Irwin Center was in its very early years as well.
Yeah.
In the
I
thought
remember
that
seeing
those
basketball games at Greg Gym. So it was, now we're moving on to the next buildings after them. It's a bit of a change, and yeah, it reminds you that you got more gray hair than less.
Right, exactly. Now, with regard to what you mentioned on the South End Zone and the assessment, I think it's probably a lot of folks, fans, think, oh, they're just looking at expanding the stadium capacity. That's a fan's way of looking at things. But from what you're saying is you're looking at it more from a different element, not just adding seats to a stadium.
No, I don't see us really adding more seats. We're right around 100,000 seats. That's enough seats. What we do have generally has been a waiting list and interest in more premium seating, club seating, suite seating, loge seating. We have a different kind of a staff, larger football staffs, larger football numbers that need more amenities for the student athletes that we have to look at. We've got our video board that's 8, pushing 10 years. By the time we do something, it's going to be 12, 13, 14 years old. It's getting harder and harder to get parts for those kind of electronics. You think about your own house, Has anybody got an 8-year-old TV in their house? I don't think so anymore. Does anybody have a 14-year-old TV in their house? Not very many folks.
How do you feed a 13-year-old Godzillatron?
Yeah, it gets harder and harder all the time. So we want to continue to enhance the fan experience in the facility. So whether it winds up being more Wi-Fi, better video, better sound systems, better amenities for those folks so we can surprise and delight them every time they come and interact with the university and our athletic facilities. All those are important elements that we're going to be working on a go-forth basis.
Now, since we're still talking football and since we're still talking facilities, let me get you to transport your thoughts 200 miles north. Texas OU game, a big part of the reason that the game has continued to stay in Dallas in the Cotton Bowl was because of the commitment that the city had to begin doing the upgrades and to expand the seating capacity to 92,000. Is there still the ongoing dialogue of continuing to upgrade the fan amenities there and restrooms and concessions and things of that nature, as well as suites perhaps for a Cotton Bowl as they continue to try to retrofit a facility that started in the 1930s?
Well, the reality is you're never going to be able to retrofit that kind of a facility to match what you've got at Oklahoma or what we have here in Austin. But we do want to make sure that the fan experience continues to improve. I think they've worked very hard at that up there. It's a great tradition playing there at the state fairgrounds. You know, for years and years and years, we've all gone there and played the game. We want to continue that tradition. I think we're excited to continue to work with those folks, and hopefully we'll go out there and get a few more wins, too.
There you go. And then finally, with regard to the Irwin Center, you mentioned it. You said 6 years, 8 years, whatever it is down the road, but it sounds like you have your eye on the future with it, that something has to happen eventually, obviously, with the Dell Medical Center moving in. What kinds of things happen in the very early stages when you think about what you may want to do about a basketball facility?
Well, I think we really need to sit down and have a lot of conversations about what do we really expect the building to do? What are the different constituent groups that it has to take care of? How do we finance it? Where do we place it? You know, who's going to be our partners in it? At our core, we've got to have a home for the men's and women's basketball teams and for all the other events we do for the university, whether it's, you know, graduations or for the school or for high schools or others. You know, then you look at expanding what you do for the community as a whole. So if there's musical events or circus or rodeos or whatever else that may happen there, the state high school basketball tournament is something we want to keep in the facility for many years to come, as we had for many years in the past. All those are different events and that have different constituent groups that have to be involved in the discussions of what is the building going to look like, where is it going to be placed, how's it going to be financed, who's going to bear those costs. We're in a fortuitous position right now. The building's paid for, it sits on state land, we don't pay any property tax. You got a lot of great transportation to the site, no debt service. Capital's well maintained, building's well run, so we run slightly in the black, which is a rarity for a public assembly facility like that.